You wake up tired, again, not exhausted, just flat. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a quiet thought shows up. Maybe this is just what aging feels like. But here's the uncomfortable question most people never ask themselves. What if that low energy isn't age at all, but something deeper, something fixable, quietly shutting down your system from the inside? Because when energy fades, everything else follows. Strength after 50 becomes harder to maintain. Mobility feels limited. Balance isn't as reliable. And little by little, independence starts slipping. Not dramatically, but subtly. That's the part that scares people the most. Not wrinkles, not birthdays, but the feeling that their body isn't responding the way it used to, no matter how healthy they think they are. What if the real issue isn't motivation, hormones, or getting older, but your mitochondria? The tiny engines inside your cells that decide how much energy you actually have to live your life? Stay with me. Because once you understand what's really happening at the cellular level and the simple, evidence-based fixes that change that trajectory, the way you think about aging well, health span, and quality of life will never be the same. Most people think energy is about motivation, caffeine, or willpower. But here's the quiet truth few ever explain clearly. Real energy is cellular. Every movement you make, every step you take, every moment of mental clarity you enjoy depends on tiny structures inside your cells called mitochondria. They're often called the cell's powerhouses, but that label barely does them justice. They don't just produce energy. They decide how well you age, how strong you stay, and how long your health span truly lasts. When mitochondria are working well, life feels lighter. You wake up with more clarity, your body responds better to movement, balance feels natural, and functional fitness becomes easier to maintain. This is why mitochondrial health quietly sits underneath everything people care about after 50. Mobility, strength after 50, independence, and overall quality of life. It's not about chasing youth. It's about keeping the internal engine running efficiently so daily life doesn't feel like a constant uphill climb. But when mitochondrial function starts to decline, aging accelerates in ways most people don't immediately connect. Energy drops first, then recovery slows, muscles respond less, balance feels less reliable. Over time, this cellular slowdown becomes fertile ground for degenerative conditions that steal independence piece by piece. This is why evidence-based health researchers increasingly view mitochondrial decline not as a side effect of aging, but as one of its central drivers. And here's where things get genuinely interesting. Scientists aren't just observing this anymore. They're actively exploring new ways to target mitochondrial function directly. There's growing excitement around emerging discoveries aimed at repairing damaged mitochondria and restoring their ability to generate energy efficiently. It's not hype, and it's not a miracle cure, but it represents a fundamental shift in how we think about healthy aging. And to understand why that matters, you first need to see what mitochondria actually do inside your body, moment by moment. At the most basic level, mitochondria exist for one reason: to produce ATP, the energy currency that powers every single function in your body. From muscle contraction and balance control to memory, digestion, and heart function, ATP is the invisible fuel behind it all. When mitochondrial output is strong, your body feels capable and responsive. When it isn't, even simple tasks begin to feel heavier than they should. A subtle but powerful shift in how aging shows up day to day. The problem is that mitochondria are extremely sensitive to how you live. Chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, poor sleep, sedentary habits, and long-term stress all damage their structure and efficiency. Over time, this leads to what researchers call mitochondrial dysfunction, a state where cells struggle to meet energy demands. The body adapts by slowing things down, which may protect survival short-term, but quietly erodes health span, mobility, and functional fitness over the long run. This is why mitochondrial decline is consistently linked to age-related conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. These conditions don't appear overnight. They develop gradually as energy production falters, repair mechanisms weaken, and tissues lose resilience. From an evidence-based health perspective, many chronic diseases of aging share a common root: cells that simply can't keep up with the energy required to maintain normal function. Here's the insight most people miss. Aging itself isn't the enemy. energy inefficiency is. When mitochondria lose their ability to adapt, regenerate, and communicate, the entire system suffers. But if science can find ways to preserve or restore that cellular energy flow, the aging process looks very different. And this realization is what's driving a wave of research aimed not at treating symptoms, but at changing what happens deep inside the cell, which leads us directly to a fascinating scientific breakthrough now taking shape. Here's where the conversation around longevity quietly shifts. For decades, science focused on managing the symptoms of aging: blood sugar, cholesterol, inflammation. Important, yes. But recently, researchers have started aiming deeper, asking a more fundamental question. What if we could improve how cells produce energy in the first place? That's where emerging mitochondrial research comes in, exploring new compounds and signaling pathways that help damaged mitochondria function better instead of simply compensating for their decline. Some of the most exciting studies now focus on restoring mitochondrial quality and stimulating biogenesis, the creation of new, healthier mitochondria inside cells. Think of it less like forcing an old engine to run harder, and more like gradually replacing worn-out parts while improving fuel efficiency. Early findings suggest that targeting these cellular pathways could improve energy metabolism, resilience, and recovery across multiple systems at once: muscles, brain, heart, and metabolic health. What makes this approach so compelling is that it addresses aging at its root, not at the surface. Instead of treating fatigue, weakness, or cognitive decline separately, mitochondrial optimization aims to support the underlying system that powers them all. This is why many scientists see mitochondrial health as a unifying framework for healthy aging, functional fitness, and long-term independence, even though much of this research is still in development and requires careful validation. And here's the grounded truth. While these breakthroughs are promising, they're not yet a switch you flip or a pill you take tomorrow. But they do confirm something powerful. Your mitochondria are adaptable, responsive, and deeply influenced by daily behavior, which means you don't have to wait for the future to benefit. In fact, the most reliable ways to support mitochondrial function are already available today, and they start with how you move, eat, recover, and manage stress. Strategy number 1. Exercise as a cellular signal. Here's the empowering part most people never hear. You don't need to wait for future breakthroughs to support mitochondrial health. Movement itself is a biological message. Short, intelligently dosed bursts of effort, combined with strength after 50 training, tell your cells, we need more energy capacity. This can look like brisk walking with hills, light interval cycling, or resistance training focused on large muscle groups 2 to 3 times per week. It's not about punishment. It's about reminding your mitochondria that your body still expects performance, balance, and functional fitness. Strategy number 2, nutrition that feeds energy, not just calories. Nutrition plays a quieter but equally critical role. Mitochondria rely on micronutrients like magnesium, B vitamins, and compounds such as CoQ10 to keep energy production efficient. A practical, evidence-based health approach emphasizes colorful vegetables, adequate protein, olive oil, nuts, and fatty fish. Some people also explore intermittent fasting, not as a trend, but as a structured pause that promotes cellular cleanup through autophagy, allowing inefficient mitochondria to be recycled and replaced with healthier ones. Strategy number 3, thermal stress. Used wisely. Thermal exposure is another fascinating lever. Heat from sauna use and brief cold exposure act as controlled stressors that challenge mitochondria to adapt and grow more resilient. This isn't about extremes or endurance contests. Even moderate sauna sessions or ending a shower with cool water can activate protective pathways linked to longevity and health span. Think of it as teaching your cells flexibility, the same way mobility training keeps joints cooperative rather than stiff. Strategy number 4, sleep as mitochondrial repair time. Deep, consistent sleep is when mitochondria repair oxidative damage and recalibrate energy systems. Poor sleep doesn't just make you tired, it compounds cellular inefficiency over time. Simple practices like consistent bedtimes, low evening light exposure, and limiting late caffeine aren't lifestyle cliches. They're foundational to healthy aging, independence, and quality of life. Strategy number 5, stress management that protects energy. Chronic stress quietly sabotages mitochondrial function through hormonal overload and inflammation. Practices like slow breathing, short daily walks, or brief mindfulness sessions reduce that damage. These aren't soft habits. They're protective strategies that preserve mobility, balance, and long-term vitality. And when these 5 strategies work together, they don't just improve how you feel today. They prepare your system for whatever the future of mitochondrial science brings next. If you zoom out and look at where longevity science is heading, a clear pattern emerges. The future isn't about doing more. It's about doing things more precisely. Researchers are now exploring therapies designed to target mitochondrial pathways directly, from advanced supplements that influence cellular signaling to drugs that aim to improve mitochondrial efficiency in specific tissues like muscle, brain, and heart. The goal isn't immortality. It's extending healthspan by preserving function where it matters most. Some experimental approaches focus on enhancing mitochondrial communication, helping cells sense energy demands more accurately. Others look at selectively removing dysfunctional mitochondria so healthier ones can take their place. Gene-based strategies are also being explored, not to rewrite aging, but to support the systems that naturally decline over time. This represents a shift from generalized anti-aging thinking to a more tailored, systems-based approach to healthy aging. What's important to understand, especially in an evidence-based health context, is that most of these therapies are still evolving. They're promising, but not ready to replace lifestyle foundations. And that's actually good news. It means future treatments will likely work best for people who've already built resilience through movement, nutrition, sleep, and stress management. Technology may assist aging well, but it can't replace daily decisions. This is where a subtle mindset shift matters. Longevity isn't something you wait for science to deliver. It's something you prepare for. Those who understand mitochondrial health today are positioning themselves to benefit more from tomorrow's innovations. And that raises a deeper, often overlooked question. How do you know if your daily habits are truly supporting cellular energy or quietly working against it? Here's an insight most people never hear explained clearly. Mitochondria don't respond to good intentions. They respond to demand. You can read every book on longevity, take the best supplements, and follow all the right experts. But if your body doesn't need energy, your cells won't invest in producing it. Biology is efficient. It only upgrades systems that are regularly challenged in meaningful functional ways. This is why functional fitness matters so much after 50. Carrying groceries, getting up from the floor, climbing stairs without hesitation. These aren't just daily tasks, they're biological signals. When your body regularly performs movements that require coordination, balance, and strength, mitochondria adapt to meet that demand. That's how independence is preserved. Not through extreme workouts, but through consistent exposure to real-life physical challenges that reinforce usefulness. There's also a cognitive side to this equation. Learning new skills, navigating unfamiliar environments, or even changing routines forces the brain to consume more energy, and mitochondria respond accordingly. Simple examples include learning a new language, practicing an instrument, or changing your walking route and pace. Healthy aging isn't just physical. It's neurological, metabolic, and deeply connected to how curious and engaged you remain with life. And this is where many people quietly go wrong. They outsource their longevity entirely to protocols. But the body doesn't adapt to protocols. It adapts to purpose-driven stress. When movement, learning, recovery, and rest all serve a clear function, mitochondria align with that demand. This is what separates passive aging from aging well. And it sets the stage for something even more important, how all these ideas come together in a way that feels doable, sustainable, and deeply personal. At the end of the day, this isn't really about mitochondria. It's about what they give you back when they work properly. Energy to move, strength to respond, balance to trust your body, and the freedom to live without constantly negotiating with fatigue. Aging well isn't passive. It's built. One decision, one habit, one signal to your cells at a time. And the good news? You don't need perfection. You just need consistency in the things that actually matter. So here's the real question. Which of these strategies are you going to start this week? More intentional movement, better sleep boundaries, smarter nutrition, because information doesn't change lives. Action does. And the longer you delay, the more your body adapts to low demand. Remember, your goal isn't youth, it's independence. If this helped you see aging, energy, and longevity differently, take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. We're here to talk about evidence-based health, functional fitness, and how to age better without hype, fear, or shortcuts. And before you go, there's one video you need to watch next. Most people over 50 miss this about muscle, and it quietly costs them independence. Because understanding mitochondrial energy is powerful. But if you don't understand how muscle protects your independence, you're missing a critical piece of the longevity puzzle.